Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the past couple of weeks I've been doing a lot of videos on the NHL and I have been loving them since day one. Since the first video I done in NHL to the most previous one I've done. Loved them all. I'm learning more and more and more about the modern day sport of the NHL. Just to put this out there, okay, this is going to be a long video, as you'd probably be able to tell by the timeline down below. It's going to be a long goddamn video, baby. So I only want you to watch this if you're going to watch the entire thing with me, because you might learn a lot of new things. This is the history of hockey documentary. I'm doing videos on NHL. I like doing videos with you guys. You guys like me to do videos. I thought we could all do this together. We could watch this, and if you might not have seen this before. You might not even heard of it, Becky. Alright, you're not watching this because you don't like hockey, alright? I can't not do it without him, you know. Just have to do it with him. Sorry, I'm sorry. So ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get yourself comfortable, go and take a piss, go and do a poo-poo, get some food, get a little munch, grab a coffee, grab a snack, take your shoes off, make sure you're wearing comfortable socks, and make sure the room you're in is nice and warm, and that you're seated comfortably. Before we can start this, I'm ready to go. If you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'll give you 3 seconds to get yourself comfortable. Yeah? Okay. NordVPN is the top dog when it comes to online privacy. It is easy to use, it is super fast, and it has 5,500 different servers for you to choose from. NordVPN will give you the safest online experience that there is to offer, as well as having 0 restrictions. This means Netflix is completely unlocked for everyone to use and get the best movies they have to offer. Thank the Lord. I used to worry when I used to go into coffee shops about my data getting stolen. I used to worry about it all the time, and I used to edit out and about being connected to unsecure Wi-Fi connections. But thanks to NordVPN's double encryption service, I don't need to worry about that anymore. I am good and I am secure and safe, and no one is going to be stealing anything. Get 70% off NordVPN right now, which works out at $3.49 per month with a 30-day money-back guarantee, as well as getting a month completely free. Use my link below. Get safe, stay secure. NordVPN will sort you out. I'm excited. It's like a Christmassy kind of vibe we've got going on. We've got the snow cart, Montreal.
To the boys from McGill,
1875.
what happened that winter night in a Montreal skating rink was just an experiment. They never dreamed they were making history.
Is this real footage?
But when the puck dropped, they gave the world its first official hockey match. And in that moment, a new game and a new country made a lifelong bond.
We were the nation that was created when the game was created.
What?
A game of survival, played against winter. The promise of life in the season of death.
Season of death. It's a lovely way to put it.
It's dangerous. It's wonderful.
Dangerous, wonderful.
Hometown dreams born on frozen ponds.
Isn't it actually mad how far things have come when you look back on where they started to where they are now? And like stadiums, the ice is perfect, boots are all... Everything is like amplified to be perfect now. And then you see I can't speak today. You see documentaries like this that give you an insight as to what things would have been like back in the day. Madness!
In a quest for glory.
Quest for glory.
It's the story of miners and mill workers. And the winter stage where any man can be king. Of the struggles and triumphs of the women who fought for their place in the game.
To what it is now.
There was a time when I first started coaching hockey that the only person who was watching our game was the Zamboni driver.
Hockey's story spans 2 centuries in a vast country coming...
I first started coaching hockey that the only person who was watching our game was the Zamboni driver.
Hockey's story spans 2 centuries.
Now what is this woman doing? I mean, I'm seeing a hockey boot, skates, and I'm seeing her with a lighter. Is this some sort of spell she's doing?
In a vast country
or maybe
coming
she's
of
just burning
age.
ice, I don't know. Probably.
A story of hucksters and heroes. Of victory and betrayal.
I love the history of things, ladies and gents, just in case.
A game that divides us and unites us. Heroes. Of victory.
What is he doing?
And betrayal. A game.
This young fella here in the blazer has got himself a stick from somewhere, and he does not look like a player, and he has walloped someone.
That divides us and unites us like nothing else can.
I don't know what it is about hockey. When people get into it, it's just in their blood.
How true is that?
Canada's gift to the world and a measure of our place in the world.
Yeah, I feel like it's in my blood
Are we
now.
gonna have challenges? Absolutely. But nobody's gonna take
There
away
he
the
is.
fact that it's our game. That'll never be taken away.
It will never
It's
be
the game
taken.
of our kids and the game of our lives. A game that tells the story of a nation.
That's the story of a nation, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are.
It's the history of the world's greatest, coldest game.
Now, I'm all for women's sports and amazing, yeah, complete. They should be up there with the men, I completely agree. But what on God's earth is she wearing? That's a skirt around her ankles with a cardigan on and a hat. How is that? How are you supposed to get out of it? Episode 1, a simple. Oh, I can just like excited. A simple game. This is the boys just out of school. They've got their favourite clothes on. It's
One
autumn.
had to have a good stick. No
Stick.
umbrella handle. So early in the fall, boys would go up the sides of the mountain to hunt for small trees growing on the steeper slopes.
That's crazy.
Those trees had roots that curved sharply into the bank, and when trimmed and dried, made ideal sticks with which to play the game.
This is where it all started, ladies and gents. This is where the sport you love
Even
playing right
before
now
Canada was a country,
started.
it was a ritual that marked the passing of one season and the beginning of another.
Ritual? That's that woman with the bit.
Winter. Or more precisely, hockey season.
Oh, I thought I was going to say autumn because I said autumn got a minute ago. We've been like connection. I thought they were
We
playing
took
with that rock.
advantage of every opportunity. Holidays, and oftentimes after school, we were on the ice. It was skate, skate, skate as hard as you can go.
hard as you
Take
can
a rest, and go after that puck again until you're thoroughly
That
exhausted.
rock's going to get someone.
The strange thing is, winter's greatest sport was born in summer, under the hot sun of Egypt and Persia and Greece.
What?
When the Athenians built the Parthenon 2,500 years ago,
Hold on here. What?
one of the stone carvers, a sports fan, left a record of his passion.
No, he wasn't playing hockey in the
A marble
pyramids.
relief shows two teams with crooked sticks and a ball waiting for the referee's signal. Except for the missing skates and the fact they're buck naked.
I was supposed to say, why are they naked?
It was a center ice face-off.
Naked hockey?
You know, as humans, we're players.
Knocky?
I mean, that's what we do. I mean, we mess around. We, you know, we see a rock and we kick it.
Do we?
And if you kick
Do we
a
kick
rock,
rocks?
somebody else is going to kick it too, and they may kick it in the opposite direction, and games begin.
These young fellas here.
As civilization
Straight out of
spread
parts of
westward,
Caribbean.
so did its games, taking root in Europe and the British Isles. They called it bandy, or hurley, or shinty.
Hurley? That's still a game played here.
All stick and ball games.
Stick
all
and ball.
hockey's ancestors.
Oh, it's cute, isn't it?
But it's the skate that sets the game apart.
What is he wearing on his shoe? I don't know if that's it's a bit of the painting's been distorted, but it looks like a big toenail has come out each one of his shoes.
By the 1600s, the Dutch had perfected the metal blade and had the right idea. But instead of hockey, they came up with a game called golfen.
Originals considered sport.
Golf!
Threesome standing on the first tee, it's because they're playing ice golf.
Why?
The English and Irish nearly got it right, adapting the game
we
of
go.
hurley to the new marriage of steel and ice. Almost hockey, but not quite.
We nearly got it, ladies and gents. You can't fault someone for trying.
It wasn't until the old country games arrived with the immigrants on the shores of Nova Scotia that
Nova
the
Scotia?
last missing pieces were found.
The missing pieces like a treasure.
The new arrivals found the natives already had their own stick and ball game. The French called it lacrosse. In the native tongues, it had many names, including one that means
just looks violent.
little brother of war.
That's lacrosse.
By the early 1800s, there are stories of schoolboys playing a form of the game on the frozen ponds and inlets of Nova Scotia. And
Are they made of wood, those
soldiers
skates?
from the Kingston garrison are seen scrimmaging on the ice of Lake Ontario.
What's
Hockey
your
was not
fingers?
invented, it evolved.
It evolved.
But Canada's imprint on it is unmistakable.
Yeah. Oh.
In 1866, the Star Manufacturing Company of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, produces a revolutionary new skate. An ingenious design that clamps firmly to a boot with a rounded blade for better maneuverability.
That looks
For the
like a
next
weapon.
half-century, Star skates are the gold standard
skates.
around the world.
Yeah. The gold standard.
Even Leon Trotsky, future leader of the Russian Revolution, longs for a pair.
He longs for a pair.
Our relatives and friends, when going to town, would sometimes ask what I wanted. My eyes would shine. I want Halifax skates, I would cry. But they would forget their promises. I lived in hope for several weeks and then suffered a long disappointment.
Star also sells hockey sticks, handmade by Mi'kmaq carvers. They're cut from the hornbeam tree, nicknamed ironwood for its resiliency, or stinkwood, because the sawdust smells so bad. Mi'kmaq sticks sell all over the continent for 45 cents a dozen.
45 cents. How much are they on? Let me know below how much hockey sticks are now, because I can guarantee they're a lot there in all its
It's the
glory.
stick that gave the game its name. Perhaps from the old French word hoquet, which
Hoquet.
means shepherd's crook. Or maybe it's from the Iroquois hohi, meaning tree branch.
Hockey.
Wherever it came from, it stuck.
Shepherd stick. Hockey means shepherd stick. There you go, ladies and gents. I bet you didn't know that.
The game in the mid-1800s is a wild, chaotic affair.
It looks
no
crazy.
set boundaries, no time limit.
What's he doing on the
few
floor?
rules, the number of players determined only by how many could fit on the ice.
It was probably
What?
more of a
That just looks
scrum
chaotic.
because it's similar to maybe a little bit of rugby to field hockey, where everyone sort of was magnetized by the puck, and so you had to be around the puck or close to the puck, and that's kind of how you moved around, sort of like Pac-Man. And that's how the game was played.
Just everyone going boogly.
Crowded and clumsy, but James Owen Creighton loved it.
He loved it.
Born in Halifax in 1850 and schooled at King's College, Creighton. At the age of 22, he takes a job as an engineer on the
I really hope to God that this man, when this photo or whatever was taken, he is not 22.
It's the biggest city in the country.
Aw, isn't that cute?
Population 150,000. A city on the brink.
It's on the brink.
Where a bustling harbor and modern factories share space with an open sewer running through downtown.
Lovely. Just a sewer running through the middle of the town.
Creighton keeps up his skating and takes up
Fucking Freddy Krueger.
playing for the McGill University Football Club. Their match against Harvard in 1874 is a turning point in the sporting history of North America. New Englanders see in rugby the seeds of a game they'll call football. But James Creighton sees another sport altogether.
What does he see? James Creighton? I wonder what he sees in his eyes. Hockey. Look at that.
That winter, he recruits his rugby teammates, outfits them with Mi'kmaq sticks and star skates, and lays out the rules.
Oh, how satisfying was that click?
That winter, he recruits his
That's when you
rugby
know it's on.
teammates,
Listen.
outfits them with Mi'kmaq sticks and star skates, and lays out the rules.
Love it. Lays out the rules. Creighton.
The game shall be commenced and renewed by a bully in the center of the ground. Charging from behind, tripping, collaring, kicking, or shinning shall not be allowed. No player shall raise his stick above his shoulder. When a player hits the ball, anyone of the same side...
Then, on the night of March 3rd, 1875, Creighton books the Victoria skating rink for a couple of hours and invites a small audience. Hockey had moved indoors.
It's the beginning. It's the beginning.
And now, instead of the wide open game played outside for the last
just as mad.
75 years, it has boundaries, squeezed into a space roughly the size of a gladiator ring.
That has no comparison in my head. The gladiator rink.
They play by rugby rules, so it's illegal to pass the puck forward.
That isn't the rule now, is it? You can pass the puck forward now.
Stick handling is the only way to attack, and body checking the best way to defend. The goalposts are 8 feet apart, and the goalies are forbidden from falling or kneeling to make a save. They
What?
play 9 men aside, no substitutions.
No
Everyone
subs.
goes the full
The keeper's not
60
even allowed to dive.
Strange to modernize, maybe, but there's no question it's hockey.
So the keeper just has to stand there like a statue?
Point to Montreal on March 1875, and you know, a lightning bolt, and suddenly there was this new game. But all the elements have fed together into one place, the biggest city in the country, the most important city in the country, though, you know, Halifax certainly has its place. Everything just mushrooms and explodes.
Mushrooms and explodes.
The score is 2-1, partway through the second half, when the trouble starts.
Oh god, here we go. This is where it all started, ladies. This is why you're allowed to fight now.
And wanted their ice back.
Wanted their ice back. Push the handbags.
The first official hockey game in history is called early because of a fight. Even so young, the game had demonstrated a potent capacity to...
The first family of hockey. What does that even mean?
8 years after Creighton's little experiment.
8 years?
Hockey is still a kind of boutique sport.
Boutique?
The pastime
One of a
an
kind.
exclusive little club of English Montreal gentlemen, most of whom had learned the game at McGill University. There are fewer than 100 league players in the whole country. But like journalist P.D. Ross,
There he is.
they're true believers.
It's P.D. Ross. Okay.
Best game I know
like
of,
him.
hockey. Got my skates, down to the river to play on the ice. Hard work all afternoon.
Yeah.
Feeling used up. Too much exercising between hockey and dancing. Determined to quit dancing.
Look at those feet.
It is
Beautiful.
But to spread,
I love
hockey
real
needs a
footage.
showcase. And in 1883, opportunity comes calling.
Comes calling.
That year, Montreal hosts the first Winter Carnival.
What are they doing?
Every hotel and boarding house is booked, and tourists are pouring into the city.
They're pouring
by the
in.
trainload.
This is good news.
P.D. Ross files reports for the Toronto Daily Mail.
Santa?
There must have been 1,000 sleighs and cutters on the street between 3 and 4 o'clock.
1,000
People of all
slaves.
description in them glide along.
What a
music
time to
of their
be
day.
alive.
Montreal is today the best advertised city on
Oh!
the continent.
The centerpiece of the carnival is a marvel of frozen architecture.
Holy sugar.
A real winter palace built with 10,000 blocks of ice cut from the St. Lawrence River.
That's insane.
But sports are the main attraction.
Holy shit.
Tobogganing, snowshoeing, horse races, and a curling bonspiel.
What? Curling
And
bonspiel?
this year, Montreal's newest winter spectacle, ice hockey.
Oh, yes. Look at the keeper. He's just like a
And for
flippin'.
the first time, the game has a world stage to play on.
Can't even dive. Can't even kneel.
Newspapers have just started printing a sports page. And P.D. Ross makes sure...
The serious
hockey
men always had the
is in
moustaches
on
back in the days, didn't they?
This morning, the Carnival Sports opened with the first of the hockey matches on the river. The Quebec and Montreal teams were pitted against each other. The game is one of the finest and fastest.
He's getting his
on
jots down. He's getting his notes down.
We finally have kind of almost a homegrown product that's accepted, that people of all strata in society say, hey, that's worth going to see. And I think it's important that it's in Montreal, which is the most important city in Canada.
That's twice I've heard that.
Legitimizing something. If it's accepted in Montreal, it's going to be accepted everywhere.
Why is it the most important city in Canada?
But the
Can somebody
game
explain
still
that to me,
awaits
please?
Its greatest patron.
Mm-hmm.
And he arrives in the nation's capital in 1888.
1888, we're getting closer to the 1900s, ladies and gentlemen.
Canadians could be forgiven for suspecting the Queen's new man in Rideau Hall might be a dry twig.
I think 1900s is when the world invented colour.
And intimidating as a Quebec winter. First Baron of Preston, 16th Earl of Derby, Knight Grand Cross of the Order of Bath. In fact, Governor General Frederick Stanley is made for Canada. He's a sporting man who likes to hunt, loves racehorses, and has a passion for fishing.
Now what is that?
He'd never seen a hockey game until that first winter in Canada, but all it took was one.
It only took one game and that was it. Hooked. Look at that.
Hockey took up
That's
residence
mad,
on the
isn't it?
outdoor rink at Rideau Hall. His lordship isn't much of a player himself.
No.
But his kids take to it like naturals. His daughter Isabel is in the lineup for the government house team that wins the first women's hockey game ever played, thus prompting her peers back in England to sniff that she's too much inclined to be like a boy. Rideau Hall also fields a men's team, the brainchild of Stanley's sons.
Told you they all have moustaches.
Arthur. The captain of the squad is none other than James Creighton.
James Creighton.
The man who'd brought hockey to Montreal is now law clerk to the Senate, and still a keen player. They call themselves the Rideau Rebels, a name Edward Stanley chose because it all started as a bit of a lark.
We were not too well looked upon by the authorities, and I think that our name, the Rebels, shows very clearly the feelings that existed amongst other hockey players towards us. The mere thought of it connects me with one of the happiest times of my life.
The Rebels take hockey on the road.
What the hell are they doing? Hello, pretend they get their head cut off.
They take Lord Stanley's private rail car and they go into Ontario and play matches, along with James Creighton, who was also on the team. It's an extraordinary collection of individuals. The Governor General's sons and Creighton, kind of hockey evangelicals, if you will.
Angelicals.
Before the family returns to England in 1892, the Stanley boys cajole their father into a $50 investment with a London silversmith. A modest little cup that any team in the Dominion can challenge for, and none can keep.
Is that cup still going today?
As its greatest prize.
Because that would clearly be the oldest one. 60-minute men. Bet this is about getting fitness levels up to play matches that are 60 minutes.
When I was growing up, we lived hockey.
You did?
Hockey on the creeks,
Yeah.
hockey on the ponds, hockey on the rivers, hockey on the road.
On the
if
road
necessary.
even.
We just moved from one kind of rink to another. Perpetual motion.
Beautiful word.
In 1895, you can buy a pair of Star Skates by mail order for $1 and a one-piece Mi'kmaq stick for 25 cents.
I think $1 back in those days was quite a lot.
Hockey is bursting out all over the country.
Oh, the kits are coming on a little bit.
Against each other in Regina.
A little bit less formal, you know.
In Ottawa, and firefighters in Calgary.
They're pretty cool.
The young Jubilees of Dartmouth and the Eurekas of Halifax play for the Colored Championship of Nova Scotia. And the first women's teams are forming in universities in Quebec and Ontario. The CPR had just finished the last 100 miles of track in a steel highway that now links the country from coast to coast.
It links the country from coast to
Discounted fares
coast.
are offered to hockey fans, and local rivalries spill over into contests
Oh,
between
God damn it,
cities
brother.
and provinces. The Winnipeg Victorias had come late to the game, but they have the advantage of winter ice that comes early and stays long. They also have one of the finest athletes in the country.
So when they didn't have ice to play
Dan
on,
Bain never drank or smoked.
I
and
wonder where
claimed he
they
had no
played.
time for women. Dan Bain collected championships. He won his first at the age of 13 in roller skating, and they just kept coming. Gymnastics, lacrosse.
You got it all,
Paris
babe.
Figure skating crown, 3 consecutive cycling championships. Dan Bain could win at anything.
I couldn't see any sense in participating in a game unless I was good. I kept it a sport just long enough to nab a championship, and then I'd try something else.
that is the way to go.
In 1895, that something else is hockey.
Yeah.
Bain answers a help wanted ad inviting tryouts and wins a spot on the Winnipeg team. By now, the championship is in its 3rd year, and Montreal teams have won the silverware every time. The Montreal Victorias are considered unbeatable.
Unbeatable. You can almost guess a year by the person's haircut.
In February 1896, the Winnipeggers head east to challenge for the cup.
Do you not think that's
with
crazy?
a Manitoba Free Press reporter in tow.
Like right now, that's a 100-year ago haircut.
Out from the west go 7 of the prairie capital's
It's a
most
100-year-old
stalwart sons
haircut.
to do battle. We have shown that Winnipeg is the curling center of the world, and if the Stanley Cup is brought to the bull's eye of the Dominion, we will have proven our right to be called the hockey center of the world.
Yep.
The game is played in the old Victoria skating rink.
Oh, did they have skating rinks back then inside? Okay, just ignore the last question I asked then.
Hockey in from the cold. But this time, the place is packed to its elegant rafters.
It's packed to the rafters. To its elegant rafters, sorry. I should have put it as he put it.
The Winnipeggers skate out in scarlet sweaters and blazoned with a gold bison. Their goalie, Cecil Merritt, sports a pair of white cricket pads, an innovation born of necessity since his teammates had perfected a wicked wrist shot.
So they took their pads, their leg pads from cricket.
The Winnipeg team plays
Makes
fast
sense.
and tough. Something Dan Bain is particularly
Oh god. Don't start fighting again, ladies and gentlemen, my god.
Play 30 minutes, rest 10, then play another half hour, and with no substitutions. When we passed, the puck never left the ice.
Then 60 minutes
If a
with
wingman wasn't there to receive
no
it,
subs.
It was because he had a broken leg.
He's let us score. The keeper's not even allowed to flick their legs out. Not even allowed to kneel or dive.
Thanks to the CPR, the country is not only tracked, but wired. And tonight, for the first time, hockey fans back in Winnipeg could follow a game they couldn't see. It's spotty and time delayed coming down the telegraph wires, but still, it's play-by-play.
That's crazy how much everything has evolved. Madness. Like, we think we live in the future now. Like, I wonder what things are going to be like in 20 or 30 years again.
Assist on the winning goal
100 years.
in the second half. Cecil Merritt with his white cricket
Cecil
pads is so good. One reporter declares the Winnipeg goal might as well have been boarded up. Montreal goes down to defeat, and the cup goes west.
The cup goes west.
The Manitoba Free Press gloats that the fans who bet on Winnipeg cleaned the place out.
Montreal tonight is clothed in sackcloth and
Oh
ashes.
God, the boys
and
are on
sports
it.
have gone to sleepless
The
beds
boys
with
are on
empty
it.
pocketbooks. The Peg contingent, on the other hand, have enough money to start a private bank. No less than 2,000 cold plonkers went down into the jeans of the Winnipeg supporters.
The newspaper also reports that the Stanley Cup holds exactly 2 gallons of beer, thus noting the birth
Is that what that is?
of another fine hockey tradition.
Is that the Stanley Cup? Except just the top of it without the
When
whole
the
bottom
heroes
bit?
come home, Winnipeg puts on Canada's first Stanley Cup parade in horse-drawn
Well, there we go.
carriages down Main Street.
So Stanley Cup is the oldest trophy award you can win in ice hockey.
But Montreal would be back stronger than ever. And by now, the first French-Canadian players are coming into the game. They're of the privileged class, men like Louis Hurtubise, the son of a wealthy financier, and Théophile Villot, whose father made a fortune in the bakery business. They
Baking
learned
up
the
that
game
bread.
in the schoolyards of the classical colleges, taught by the Irish and groomed by the Catholic brothers. It's a route future stars will
Only
follow
Irish.
for decades to come.
It's crazy how culture has changed in not a short time, but in terms of how old humanity is. It's short.
In 1902, Villot and Hurtubise are called up by the Montreal Shamrocks. They're the first French Canadians to play at the highest level of the game. And
Nothing
it's
less
big
than a
news
surprise.
in Quebec.
With Shamrock's defeat of the champion. Ah,
The
god
Francophone
damn it, brother.
community has
Getting
wanted
really
for
quick in the
years
pain.
to have this happen, especially the Francophone press, who see this not only, I see this as a nationalist matter,
Yep.
you know, for the honor of the nation.
Hockey culture has taken hold in French Canada. Now, all over the country, new players and new teams are appearing. Lord Stanley's trophy had worked its magic. The competition for it unites the country in a national pursuit.
Unreal. That's so
Hockey
cool.
had become Canada's game.
Canada's game. Joseph and Stanley. Oh, that's a beard.
Of all the fortune seekers who joined the Klondike Gold Rush in 1897, few are as bold or as lucky as Joseph Whiteside Boyle. By the time he treks into Dawson City, the place is crawling with every hustler, whore, and dreamer west of Winnipeg.
Whore?
But Joe Boyle dreams big.
Jesus, that makes someone
He
smile.
invests in timber concessions, sawmills, and shipping docks. And while others are panning or sluicing, he builds
That's what the fuck have I done? That's like another thing that's changed with culture as well. Like back in those days, nobody smiled for photographs. It's just like now, 100 years later, everyone has their cheesiest smile on their face. It's mental.
giant
Just little
floating
changes like that.
bridges
It's just
and
weird.
mines the whole Klondike River. In 1900,
Oh, God's
the
sake.
Yukon gives up $22 million worth of gold.
What's going on?
And Boyle gets a good chunk of it, fashioning a stick pin from his first gold nugget.
Gold nugget.
And that winter, he sees his first hockey game. In 1904, Boyle and the Hockeymen of Dawson
Loving those
staff
turtlenecks.
one team with their top players and issue a challenge to play for the Stanley Cup.
Again, no one smiling. My
It's a
God, look at those
crazy
shoes.
idea. They'll have to face the formidable Ottawa Silver Seven. The boys in the red, white, and black are the best and baddest hockey team in the game.
Everybody they play, the newspapers from the other cities complains about how brutal and dirty they are. Whereas the Ottawa papers just sort of dismiss them as they're all whiners. You know, it's a tough game. We play it tough. But whether they were dirty or not, and clearly they must have been, they were good.
The heart of the Silver Seven is an Ottawa blue blood named Frank McGee, nephew
McGee.
of Thomas Darcy McGee, the assassinated father of Confederation. Frank is also one of the greatest comeback stories in sports history. The accident happened when he was 18, playing in a charity match to raise money for Canadian soldiers wounded in the Boer War.
Oh God!
McGee took a puck in the face and was cut so badly, his left eye went blind.
Which is an extraordinary loss to him and to the game because he's a gifted athlete. I mean,
Oh,
he can
but it
put the
hurt.
puck in the net. Now he can't. He's lost his eye. So he takes a job where 100% vision isn't necessary. He becomes a referee. Close enough to a seat at the table. Misses it. Decides, what the hell, I'll risk that other eye.
McGee comes back to play with
A
the
maniac.
Silver Seven, launching one of the greatest dynasties in hockey's record books.
He don't care.
In the next two
He don't care.
seasons, Ottawa defends the championship against the best in the country. The Rat Portage Thistles, the Toronto Marlboros, the Montreal Wanderers, the Brandon Wheat Kings. None can touch the Silver Seven and one-eyed Frank McGee.
One-eyed Frank McGee.
They'd win 6-4 and he'd get 5 of them. So you can't go by how he played, but you just look, he must have been heads and shoulders above everybody else because he got the points. Wait, one-eyed Frank McGee, does that sound great? It sounds like a gunfighter or something.
The
Turtlenecks
Dawson
again,
City
unreal.
Nuggets have no stars and no track record. They'd never won anything. Their goalie is an 18-year-old kid named Albert Forrest, who'd never been in net.
Oh, Albert.
But Joe Boyle is a rich man with good connections. He convinces the Stanley Cup trustees there's a golden marketing opportunity here, and the challenge is accepted. On a cold December morning in 1904, The local newspaper sees the Dawson City Nuggets off on the strangest road trip in hockey history. The first stage is a killer dog sled trail.
What?
The run of 365 miles over the ice and snow to Whitehorse will put the boys in splendid condition. And they will be long on wind and strength when they lay out on the ice for the biggest hockey trophy under the sun.
Thus begins a 4,000-mile odyssey across the country. It takes them 10 days to walk to Whitehorse. They spend Christmas in a prospector's cabin.
Oh
socked
my
in by
god.
snow. When the storm passes, they scramble to get to Skagway, where they catch a steamer to Vancouver. And finally, the transcontinental for the long run east.
Crazy.
Ottawa, January 11th, 1905. Special to the Gazette. The Dawson
Good
hockey
color.
team arrived in Ottawa.
By the time they pull into town, the Nuggets are national celebrities.
The Nuggets?
They average about 160 pounds in weight and are a rugged-looking lot, apparently fit to rough it up to any degree if necessary.
Rugged and wrung out. Joe Boyle pleads for a postponement until his boys can recover. But Ottawa refuses.
Oh shit.
And they're forced to play the first match.
Well, that's what you get for flipping running 4,000 miles. Or 300 even.
It looks for a while like the Nuggets might make a game of it. But in the end, fatigue takes its toll, and they lose the first game 9-2.
Oh, it's a 9-2. It's a thumping. Oh, lads, get in here,
Joe
get the
Boyle
sticks off,
remains
relax.
confident in his post-game report to the home crowd.
It was a great game, and the score is no criterion of it. We have a good chance
Yep.
to win the cup. Every prospect at Monday's game will tell a different story.
No way they win this.
The next day, one of the Nuggets even suggests that the great Frank McGee, who'd only scored once, didn't look that hot.
He's got one eye.
Mistake. It was suspected that he might have been holding back so as not to embarrass Dawson City. Now, there would be no quarter.
Tortured.
In
Yeah,
the second game,
tortured.
McGee is dazzling. He scores 14 goals, including a flurry of 8 in the space of 9 minutes. The final score is a humiliating 23-2. The Ottawa newspaper complains that the fans who'd bought tickets were duped.
They were duped.
The Dawson City crew is the worst consignment of hockey junk ever to come over the metals of the CPR. The visitors couldn't shoot, couldn't skate. Dawson never had the chance of a bun in the hands of a hungry boy.
He didn't have a chance.
Only the teenage goalie, Albert Forrest, is spared. But for him, one reporter declares, the score might have been doubled. Still, Dawson City has its name etched on Stanley's Cup, though the Nuggets never get to drink from it.
It's a story that defines what the Stanley Cup was. It's a challenge cup. And you could challenge for it from anywhere. And what better anywhere, you know, than Dawson City? I mean, that's about as anywhere as there is in the country. I mean, it didn't matter that they got wiped out, you know, when the games began, but just a perfectly emblematic story.
But the next year, the Cup trustees tightened the rules to shut out unproven challengers.
Oh.
Never again would a team like the Dawson City Nuggets get a shot at the title.
Even though they won it. I used one at this, so you never, ever, ever allowed again to challenge for it. That's fair. From sport to spectacle.
Hockey had come a long way since that first experiment in a Montreal skating
and
rink
it has, yeah.
in 1875. 30 years on, the game is faster, more exciting, and a lot rougher. From its genteel roots, hockey has grown into a full-blooded and violent sport.
Jesus!
Brawls are frequent, and the stick work so brutal that in 1904 alone, 4 players were killed during hockey games.
This is where it all started, ladies and gentlemen. Told you.
You should have seen it.
This is where it all started.
It was a lot tougher and more violent back then than it is now. So everybody says, "Oh, this isn't hockey." It was whoa. That's the way hockey was back then. You better look out if he couldn't be faint-hearted playing back then.
But the violence only seems to add to the popularity of the game. Big matches now draw more than 5,000 paying customers.
It was starting to become a business, starting to become something where people realized, actually, people want to watch this thing.
Hockey sells newspapers, fills taverns, and fuels the betting halls. Everyone is cashing in, except the players.
Not getting paid.
Players see this happening, that money's changing hands all around them, including even in sports betting. And so it evolves at the beginning of the 20th century to the point where they now want to be paid to play and think it is hypocritical not to pay them. They're not bound by any code of amateurism. They see that the owners aren't bound by any code of amateurism, so why should they be?
I agree.
Hockey's little secret.
Gotta get that bread.
What began as a pleasant recreation for the leisure class
Mental.
is now a hugely profitable business. And the big paydays are coming. The stage is set for a new breed of player and the rise of professional hockey.
And ladies and gentlemen, there we go. That is the history of hockey. How it started, where it started, why it started. It's got a lot of history. I didn't realise that it came from so many different cultures, so many different countries to come. That's actually mental. Woo! If you sat through this 43 minutes with me, it's probably more than that by the time I do a bit of editing. Could be less, who knows. But either way, thank you so much for getting this far. That was really interesting. I enjoyed that. Thank you so much to the people at the History of Hockey CBC documentary. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just bring this over here because you can't hear me when I move on. If you guys would like me to do another reaction to hockey, just leave a little comment down below, okay? Thank you so much. See you later.